Depending on whether you are working on a S7-300 or S7-400 PLC, you will need to use different racks. For the S7-300, racks have two different jobs. Primarily, the rack in S7-300 operates as a holder, or more to the point, we need this rack to be able to install our modules. Upon further examination, you will see that this rack has no electrical connections. This is the reason that the S7-300 rack is also called a rail. The other job that the S7-300 rack performs is to ground the components of the PLC. Grounding means that an electrical device is connected to a path that will allow any power surges to safely exit the machine and flow into the ground. This is why all the metal parts of your modules should connect to the rack, and the rack is safely grounded, allowing any surges in the PLC to be grounded safely. By now you may be asking, if this rack has no electrical connectors, how do the modules communicate with a CPU? Since we know that these components have to communicate with each other, our only option left is to install our own electrical connections between the modules in the form of external bus connectors. As you can see, the bus connector connects two-way by having connections on both sides of the bus so that two modules can communicate with each other. Be sure to connect one side of the bus connector to a module before you install the module on the rack. That way, once you install one module, the other connector on the bus is open so that the next module can communicate with the first module once it's installed, and so on until all the modules are installed. It's important to always remember a bus connector has two connectors, one on each side to connect two different modules, and should be installed on a module before each module is installed. So, to recap, in this session, we discovered that it's necessary to install a rail or a rack when building a S7-300, and that we need to install bus connectors with each module to allow the components to communicate and have our equipment run properly. See you here next time for our next installment of PLC instruction.